In the dynamic world of technology, 6 months can be a game-changing amount of time. From software updates to shifts in our own perspectives, the journey with a device like the iPhone 15 Pro is a roller coaster of evolution. From day one to the present, I want to share my thoughts on how I feel the performance has been so far, what my experience has been like with the new features, and some of my thoughts on this device that might have changed. And I want to do that by looking at some of the nuances of the journey and exploring those changes, both subtle and striking, that can unfold with over 6 months of daily use. And what better place to start than the aesthetics? I decided to go with the 15 Pro base model with 128 gigs and the natural titanium finish. One of the changes this year that was heavily advertised was switching the rim of the phone over to this brushed titanium material. And honestly, the majority of the time I'm rocking a case, so this hasn't been too big of a deal for me. Every once in a while, I will go without a case around the house. On a rare occasion, I'll even venture out into the wild with it. And I can say that it does attract noticeably less fingerprints than the stainless steel. While keeping the same 6.1-inch Super Retina XDR display as its predecessor, the 15 Pro does come in a little bit of a smaller form factor. Now this is mainly due to the ultra-thin bezels that were reduced by almost 35%, and I think that we can all agree that smaller bezels are always a good thing. This is one of those changes like weight where when you look at the differences from year to year, they can at times seem to be incremental. But when we look at, say the span of 3, 4, or even 5 years, we see more of this exponential change. And speaking of weight, this year's model is a little bit lighter, and in the beginning, I thought that this was going to be, some kind of remarkable difference. And don't get me wrong, when you're holding the two side by side in each hand, you can certainly tell that there's a weight difference, but now that I haven't picked up the 14 Pro in quite a while and don't have that short-term memory comparison to draw on, it's hard to put too much stock into it. The action button on the side and the USB-C port on the bottom of the phone are definitely headlining features this year and probably the first things that'll grab your attention once you get it in your hands. Now, you see a lot of debate online over this action button. It's either you love it or you hate it. And I was definitely skeptical at first, to say the least, especially taking into account how iconic the mute switch has been for the iPhone over the years. But frankly, the action button is one of those features that can really grow on you over the course of, say, 6 months. It's tactical just like all the other buttons, and you have to hold it in for about a second or so, which is a nice feature that protects against accidental triggers. In order to get the most out of it, I do recommend mapping it to some sort of shortcut that's tailored specifically to you. Or you could always use something like this all-in-one action button that gives you quick access to all the presets. And I'll have that linked in the description. Another concern in the beginning was if there would be a delay when using it to launch a shortcut. Sitting here talking about it months later, I can confidently say that this has been a non-issue and we can put that one to bed. While aesthetics are undeniably important, the 15 Pro isn't just a beautiful piece of technology. It's supposed to be a device that's designed to be capable enough to handle anything that you can throw at it. But how's its performance fared in the real world with both routine tasks and ones that are a bit more challenging? Well, in some areas, it's far exceeded expectations, while in others, not so much. Let me explain. The chip this year is the A17 Pro, which is supposedly the first 3nm chip, and it has a CPU that has just as many cores as the A16 Bionic had, but it is more efficient and up to 10 times faster. It also features a single core bump in the GPU, taking it up to 6 cores to give it 20% faster graphics rendering, and it gained 2 GB of memory, giving it a total of 8 GB. And while on paper, 2 GB of memory may seem small, I have noticed a difference in how smooth of an experience it's been when launching or, switching between apps. And as you would expect from any flagship these days, everything is just ridiculously fast with this phone, and even with the same 120Hz ProMotion display, the animations, the responsiveness, they all seem slightly better than with the 14 Pro. And again, it's kind of hard to see some of these performance differences year over year, but when you go back and compare it to something like the 12 Pro or something similar, that's where you really start to notice it. In terms of battery life, I think the 15 Pro has performed better than anybody could really have anticipated. And technically, the battery is slightly larger this year, but the difference in performance has been night and day. There's been multiple occasions where, with heavy screen on time, I've been able to sail through an entire workday without the need for a recharge. And I've been able to eliminate any concerns about, managing usage or resorting to low power mode until I return home for the night. In large part, I think this is mostly due to the A17's, performance being much more optimized for the operating system. And with regards to overall battery health, I've just now this week dropped down to 99% while going through almost 250 cycles. And for some comparison, in the same amount of time last year with the 14 Pro, I was already down to 97% battery health. Even with all the spec bumps and improvements, it doesn't come without its own challenges. At launch, there was a frenzy of multiple users reporting to have severe overheating issues, and while I was lucky enough to avoid that issue, Apple did later come out with a statement blaming it on some iOS 17 bug that affected a small population of users rather than some big design defect. And taking that into account, there's still been many instances where the phone gets particularly warmer than I remember with any other model. Of course, I could be an outlier here, but it is unquestionably noticeable with heavy use or when consuming content for long periods of time. It seems to be exaggerated even more when charging the phone with the USB-C cable. And I know all phones are supposed to get hot when you charge them, but this almost gets hot to the touch at times. Let me know in the comments if you've had a similar experience. Overall, I'd have to say that, I've been very pleased with the transition over to USB-C. It was long overdue, to be honest with you. And yes, we're still kind of in that transition period that requires us to carry multiple cords depending on if we have a USB or a Lightning product. But like with all transition periods, it'll soon phase out to a non-issue. And besides, there's a lot of positive that comes with this change. The A17 has its own dedicated USB controller that enables up to 10 gigabit per second transfer speeds, 20% faster than anything the Lightning cable was able to offer. And initially, I thought I would have, used this more often by now to transfer media over to my MacBook, but honestly, AirDrop is still just so much more convenient and it works for what I need it for. While the majority of the time I'm using MagSafe for overnight charging, I'll occasionally opt for a faster charge with at least a 20 or a 30 watt brick. By no means am I suggesting that a little over 2 hours for a full charge is slow, but it would be nice to see Apple open up the full capabilities of USB-C for a true fast charge experience. The camera capabilities of an iPhone have long been a cornerstone of its appeal, and this year is no exception. With quite a few new features and enhancements, Apple continues to push the boundaries of mobile photography and cinematography as a whole. Diving into the lenses themselves, there are noticeable differences that enhance the versatility of this year's camera system. We got all-around bigger sensors in this model, including a large 48 megapixel sensor for the main lens that shoots in 24 megapixels by default and in 48 megapixels when shooting in RAW. We also got a 12 megapixel ultra-wide lens offering a unique perspective that allows you to capture some really stunning macro shots with a 120 degree field of view. Then in addition to those, we also got a 12 megapixel zoom lens with a 3x optical zoom for objects further away. Something that's also new this year is that in between the normal 1x and 2x zoom, we now have the ability through software enabling to choose between shooting with a 28 and 35 millimeter lenses. That translates to a 1.2 and a 1.8 times zoom. Now, I will say that in the beginning, I thought that this feature was a little gimmicky, but I found myself as of late taking more and more pictures using the 28mm. And I like the option in the native camera app that allows you to switch between each one quickly. In my opinion, one of the most impressive aspects of the 15 Pro's camera system is its ability to maintain a consistent look across all the different lenses. In the past, switching between lenses could, sometimes result in noticeable differences in an image's quality. But with the 15 Pro, every shot maintains a uniform aesthetic regardless of which lens is used. And because of that fact, I think it's encouraged me to use the other lenses more than I ever have in the past. Another notable addition to the camera app in iOS 17 is the spirit level. If you haven't tried this out yet, I recommend taking it for a test drive. It's a subtle yet immensely useful tool for ensuring perfectly level photos. It's one of those fine touches of detail, though quaint and non-intrusive, that lets you add a layer of precision to your photography. It's also worth noting that this feature needs to be manually turned on within the settings, but once activated, it becomes a valuable asset in your toolkit. And then when it comes to video, the 15 Pro truly shines. With the ability to shoot 4K at up to 60 frames per second, the footage, as always, is exceptionally smooth and detailed, perfect for capturing every moment with a stunning amount of clarity packed with vibrant colors naturally. So much so that even the A-roll of the majority of the recent videos on my channel, including me talking right now, are all shot on the iPhone 15 Pro. Another area that truly impresses is the action mode, which seems to have been refined and improved compared to previous versions. Whether capturing fast-moving subjects, dynamic scenes, or taping when moving around a lot, the action mode delivers stunning results with minimal blur and maximum clarity. And I'm not sure if it's just me, but also the autofocus on both the rear and front-facing cameras seems to be quite a bit better. A feature that's also new this year that I haven't experimented with a whole lot is the ability to record ProRes log footage with the 15 Pro straight to an external SSD. Now, when this was first announced, I thought I'd be using this more often or on a regular basis, but truth be told, in my experience, it seems like more of a hassle, and the performance of the cameras already being as great as they are for my needs, the juice didn't seem like all that worth the squeeze. And yes, I'm aware that this might not be the case for everyone. I'm, sure that there's some cinematographers out there who absolutely love it and use it every day. So for that reason, I'm glad they added the feature. Despite its premium price tag and incremental updates over its predecessor, the 15 Pro stands out as a worthy upgrade in my opinion. It's one of those things where, they made just enough changes to make it deserving of an investment. The addition of features like USB-C and significant improvements in battery life and camera capabilities make it a compelling choice if you're looking to elevate your mobile experience. It also just feels really good in your hand, being, the perfect size, and has been a real joy to use day in and day out. Looking to the future, it's hard to imagine how Apple is going to continue to improve upon the iPhone, especially considering its already impressive foundation. However, with each software update bringing new enhancements and iOS 18 on the horizon, the possibilities are enough to keep me engaged, at least for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.